did we reach here? Where the view looks like the view I used to see. But somehow everything has changed. Everything is gone, and yet remains.
Okay, who do we have?
Hi, my name is Simona.
Simona, where are you originally from?
I come from Romania. I was born in Timișoara. Timișoara is the second largest city in Romania.
And what is it famous for when it comes to the revolution?
Yes, the church in Timișoara is where the revolution started, as Orthodox church. I don't know 100% everything, but I came to Australia when I was 11. And I came in 1988, and that was 1 year before the revolution. So the revolution happened in 1989. But what my cousins told me was that it started around there. Lots of people gathered, and there was shots in the police started shooting. They did shoot at the people. It must have been the bad police, the other police. And there's gunshots in the church as well. Yeah. And one of my cousins, Sorin, he said he saw, because they lived close by, they saw pregnant women dead and the unborn child taken out, lots of kids killed on the floor and things like that.
So they were killing everybody, trying to keep them controlled.
Yes, so they did shoot at the people.
Then what happened?
So and after that, the politicians told all the police to keep shooting, the army to shoot at the people, and the army decided to stop shooting at the people. They didn't want to shoot at the people anymore, and they turned onto the politicians, and they caught Ceaușescu and Elena, and they executed them. Yes.
So after enough blood had been spilled, they found their humanity.
Yes, so I'm sure they felt bad after, they're there to serve the people, not to kill the people. So I think deep down but I believe they were mixed with the bad ones were mixed with some police who had heart, or army. They were both, so secret police and army.
Do you think, why do you think the people who were being shot at wouldn't go home? Why did they keep out there fighting?
Because they wanted this regime to stop, because they had enough.
My name is Cossette Murphy.
And Cossette, I know you're from here somewhere. What did you say?
I'm from Mitang.
Which is nearby?
In East Gippsland, yep.
Yeah.
Just a few hours away.
So you drove here a few hours to speak today?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Now, where are you from originally?
I was born in Romania.
Okay. Now, tell us what it was like growing up under communism in Romania. And that was Ceaușescu?
Under Ceaușescu, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very good pronunciation, yeah. Well, we had no freedom of choice.
Yeah.
We have to follow what the government wanted all the time. We used to watch 2 hours of TV, which we have to watch him on TV, saying how wonderful Romania was under communism. Then we have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go and get some milk, which not all the time we will go and to get it. Once a month we had to go and get our ration of sugar, flour, some meat, and we used to stay in between 2 and 3 to 5 hours waiting to buy it.
Wow.
Okay. And there was no guarantee that actually you get it just because you have the card.
Yeah.
Okay. Schools, we learn about being a communist and how worst is to live in a Western society. That the corruption in a Western society is so big and is so terrible that you better live in a communist regime, which is going to look after you. So they pretended they were paying us, and we were pretending that we were working for them. Okay? Yes, the school was for free, the university was for free, but what you're doing with this free if you have no freedom of speech? So while you were outside on the streets, you could not say bad things about being a communist. Inside a house, you are allowed to talk whatever you wanted, but you couldn't because you were bagged. Okay?
Because you were what?
Bags. You have bags inside the house.
Okay, yeah,
Your
yeah.
telephone was bagged.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 1989, when the
And what would happen if you got found out? Because I talked to a doctor recently. He said if they suspected you were, you disappear.
Yes, that happened very much after 45, when Romania was taken under the Russian, and they become communist, the communist country. And a lot of family relatives, they just disappeared, especially if you were what we call the intellectual class.
Yeah.
Somebody who can think. They were not very welcome.
you.
Like me. Well, I wasn't born then. Thanks God for that. When I was born, they already established themselves as being the stronger, group. So they were not putting so much. You didn't see that pressure so much then, when I grew up, than when it was for my parents, for example. So they mellow a little bit. They kind of, yes, we will allow you to do a bit of this and a bit of that, but we're watching you all the time. Okay, so you had a bit of that false security that, oh, well, this is not so bad. However, when I was my daughter's age, around 15, I said to my parents, why are we living like this? Why are we living this totally fear of doing things? Why, when I'm at home with you, my both grandparents were born in a democratic society, I can talk with you about all those things, but when I get out, you tell me, do not open your mouth about that or the other one, because you might not coming back home. Okay? So I'm like, okay, why can we do something about it? I say, how you accepted for all these years to live like this? And they were like, well, we tried to survive. So, like I said...
So they choose survival over
They were
fighting.
choose survival after the fighting, yes.
Yeah.
In 1968, Russian invaded Czechoslovakia when the Czechoslovakia said, I don't want to be a communist country.
Yeah.
At that time, the president Ceaușescu said, I will never let this happen in my own country. Okay, so everybody went, whoa, this guy is going to fight for us because you have the Russian invading your country. So everybody was saying, well, this is a good one, This is a keeper. But as the time went by, he got all that power, got into his brain. He says, oh, I have so much power, I can do whatever I want. And he did.
Yeah, so basically, the policemen, the army that were ordered to kill the people, they basically realized we can't do this to our fellow human beings anymore. And they turned their guns around on their superiors and basically shot them. And then they went and chased after the dictator. And that's the point where we all realized we're gonna win this. We were on a winning streak after that. And
What did that feel like?
it felt good. It felt good, yeah. And after a couple of days, they caught him and his wife. And they trialed him on national TV for, I can't exactly recall, maybe a week it was, a public trial. They convicted them both of all their crimes against humanity that they've committed. And they got like maybe 5 or 6 soldiers, and they got shot on live television, both him and his wife. That was their sentence.
What did that feel like to watch?
Look, I am a Christian, and I do not believe in capital punishment. I would never want to cause harm to anybody, but I have to say, in my humanity, it felt good.
Thank you for coming. Now, what is your name?
Hi, Michael. I'm Tabita.
How do you spell it? That's a really unusual name.
It's like Tabitha without the H, because in my language, in Romanian, we don't use the TH sound.
Okay.
So it's Tabita, not Tabitha.
Now, where are you from? Let the people know.
So I'm originally from Romania. I grew up in Romania until I was 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Britain.
Okay.
After that, yeah, and that's where I met my husband. So,
And you told me at the gathering last night that you were part of the resistance in Romania.
yes, like when I was 10 years old in Romania, I've been through the revolution that took place in Eastern Europe, against the communist regime. So probably, as you know, it started in Eastern Germany with the Berlin Wall collapsing, and then it moved more towards the east through Austria and Hungary, and then Poland, and then it ended up with Romania. Romania was one of the last countries to join the revolution because we were worse off because our border was with Russia, so we were more under Russian communist control at the time.
And was it Ceaușescu was the leader?
Yes, Ceaușescu was the dictator. He was the communist dictator at the time, similarly to the North Korean dictator that we have just now, Kim Jong-un. It was that kind of style of dictatorship, yeah.
Now, I used to live with some Romanians, and they said communism wasn't communism in Romania. Like, if you wanted to see a doctor, it was supposed to be free, but if you didn't pay, you sat there all day. And they said that the doctors used to live in good houses, and they lived in apartments with lots of, they were poor. There was rich and poor, sort of. Was that true, or what was your perspective?
Yes, there was very extremes in the society. Like, there was basically no middle class, really. It was just people living in poverty. So you know how they say socialism, everybody is equal and everything. Well, everybody is equally poor and equally miserable, I would say. And then you had the ruling elite class, which was largely made up of politicians and policemen, the government officials, that they were paid lots and lots of money to do basically their dirty work. So, yeah.
When you were growing up before you were 10, did you have a sense that something was wrong?
Yes, pretty much from the start, yeah. And my parents always told me the truth, that, we are in a dictatorship here, and this is not normal. And, I can give you a few. Would you like me to give you a few examples?
I'd love to, yeah.
How life was like? Well, basically, blackouts, constant blackouts at night. I remember doing my homeschooling at night. I'm in the dark with a candle. So that's something that socialists must like. I'm not sure why the electricity was getting cut off all the time. At school, it was constant indoctrination into socialism. But my parents always warned me, and they said, don't listen to any of the rubbish that they say. Just go there, learn the basics, maths, language, science. But the rest, just don't even listen to it because it's all crap. So I knew to do that from the start, but we were made to sing their socialist songs and whatever. And I had to do that at times, but I didn't believe any of their stuff. And
was there fear?
A lot of fear. I was constantly living in fear growing up.
Fear of what?
Well, I was worried that I would come home from school and I might never see my parents again. Yeah.
That was real.
Yeah. Because
so people vanished.
Simply vanished, yeah. Yeah. If they thought you were a threat to the system, they would just eliminate you. They would either put you in prison, no trial, no nothing, sometimes not even tell the family where they were in prison, kill them, put them in prison, or send them to work on some project they were doing on another side of the country or something, and they would never see their family again for ages and ages. I mean, if you really want to find out more what life was like in communist Romania, you can look up Richard Wurlbrand, and he wrote a book called With God in Solitary Confinement. He was a Jew living in Romania at the time, and he was sent to prison like that and put in solitary confinement. Yeah. They weren't particularly attacking the Jews or anything like that, but he was just rebelling against the system, and he was just, he went through a lot. So he wrote a book about it. So that's the time I lived in. And so basically TV, no cartoons, no nothing for kids. I remember we had like every Saturday, like 5 minutes of cartoons for kids. The rest of the time was just 24/7 communist indoctrination, nothing from the outside world. And, I feel really sad because I believe that's what's happening in North Korea at the moment. Maybe China, I'm not sure, but nothing from the outside world, only Ceaușescu on TV all the time. Food, my mom had to queue up from like 5 o'clock in the morning. From 5 o'clock in the morning to just queue up for milk and bread. Yeah. And food was rationed. So they would tell us nothing was imported, right? So it was only stuff that we had in our country or we could grow. So at Christmas, they would bring in some oranges, and they would tell us you can have 2 oranges a family. So we would go and divide the 2 oranges between the 5 of us. And yeah, food was rationed. We were told how much bread, how much milk, how much rice, how much everything, how much flour we could have as a family. The shops were basically empty, nothing you could buy. I remember because I had 3 sisters, so obviously as girls, we like dressing up and everything. We had... my mom and dad could only afford to buy us like 1 new dress once a year for Christmas. So that was my life growing up. Yeah.
What was it like when the revolution actually happened? How quickly did it happen? What was it like?
So basically we started hearing about the revolution, that it was happening in Hungary or other places, and we kept praying that would come to our country as well, that we would be freed as well. And it started, we call it in Romania the revolution of the young people, because it was mostly the young people that went out in the streets protesting. So I think it started with an Orthodox priest who was preaching a sermon in his church at the time, and during the sermon he just started saying stuff against the government just all of a sudden, which was very unusual at the time because you weren't allowed to do that kind of stuff. You just weren't. You would be jailed straight away. And he just started it, and then from there, it just built on, and it just spread throughout every city in Romania. And the young people would just go out in the streets protesting, knowing that they could be killed and shot, and they didn't care. They said, give me freedom or give me death.
For 42 years, Romania was under this regime, and it destroyed the country and the people.
So it took 42 years of hardship.
Yes.
And can you tell us the story about your father who was in prison?
Yes. So the story starts back with my grandfather, Dad's father. They had lots of land. They were quite rich. He had the farm. And when the communist regime came, they came and took all his land and used it for themselves. And what they did was all the people that lived in the village, the communists made them work on the fields. So they had to do this for without pay. And when my parents moved to the city, so I was born in the city, they also had to go to the village and do the same thing. Every person had a piece of land, and they had to dig it every year, dig it and then plant whatever the potatoes, corn, whatever the government wanted them to. And I also remember at school in the village, my cousins, they also took the children to work on the fields. And long story is when my father finally, when he escaped and he was here, my mom stopped me from going to school because she was scared that, because we moved back with the grandparents to the village, and she was scared that they're going to take me to work and then kill me.
Why would they kill you?
Because my dad was, at first he was put in prison. When his first attempt of escaping, he was caught.
Where was he caught?
So he escaped. There were 8 people who tried to escape, and they were trying to run across to Yugoslavia, and they got caught, and then they put them in prison. He spent in prison 8 months, very long, painful. He was very brutally tortured, and it was winter as well. So they, when they first, because my dad was a truck driver, they thought that he was the one that organized everything. So they kept interrogating him, kept asking him the same questions over and over. And there was also a lady, there were some women as well with them that escaped, were trying to escape. It was 8 people. So it was, I think, 3 ladies and 2 children and a few men. One of the sons escaped, but when they saw them at the border, they jumped into the canal, and it was a dry canal, and the guard said, I saw you, there's 8 of you, and they were talking like this, and they were shooting across their head, and one of the little ones, teenager must have been, or 20, he escaped on the side, like a snake on his belly. He went slowly, while all this carrying on was happening. And then the mother saw him. She started running after him, and then the police started shooting at her. And then my dad and the other men were saying, "What are you doing? You're gonna kill you." Anyway, they shot her in the leg, and then of course they all had to come out. And then they made Dad was the one carrying her. They put her on a bicycle, and Dad had to carry her. And anyway, they ended up in the interrogation room, my dad, and they started, the soldiers were actually young, and they started beating him and hitting him in the stomach. He had a perforated stomach before operation, my dad, because when he was young he went in the army, he did army. He's a very courageous and character, very courageous, like he's not scared of climbing a high mountain or jumping off something. He used to ride when he was young on a horse, standing up with no shoes and no saddle. So he's very adventurous like that. His brother escaped first, came to Australia, and he knew he was here and he wanted to come here. So he said to the young man who was hitting him, he said, "Why are you hitting me? I could be your father." And he said, "I have my brother is in Australia. I'm gonna tell them everything you're doing to me." Then they stopped. They were scared because Ceaușescu actually came to Australia before the revolution. And anyway, they knew he was gonna come here, so I think they were scared. Anyway, they stopped hitting him in the stomach, but then they put him on a wooden bench, kneeling, and took his shoes off and beat him with the rubber band, I don't know what to call it, that the police have. He did that, and one of the young boys, because they kept asking them how they escaped, who was the leader of your group, or who, this, and they wouldn't say, no one would say, but it was the older lady, because she worked on the border. she was doing potatoes, and she knew when the guards were off and on, when they're changing. And anyway, the boy, one of the young boys, they put hot coal in his mouth and beat him. Yes, trying to tell the story. And that's one of the things that I remember that Dad told me. And he was also, when he was in prison, of course, they shaved their head and they wear the overalls, like literally like in the movie, the black with stripes, overalls with black and white stripes. And they're always chained. Their hands and their feet are always chained. That's how they walk around.
What, chained together like handcuffs?
No. He's chained. He's got chains on his arms and his legs. I don't know if all the time, but when he was taken to court one time that I saw him, and the other time when my mom arranged. So my mom had, our family had relatives that were in the police. So they found out that Dad was caught. And my grandfather was, my mom's side, he was a shoemaker in the village. So he used to make shoes. And because this was during winter, he was in prison 3 months of winter, and it's like minus 20 degrees. And in the cells, they don't have, the windows are open. They can't shut them. They have no heater. The beds is wood and blanket, and they don't have enough clothes. And the food that they give them is just boiled cabbage. Like, they get worse than you would give your animals. Like, I remember my grandma, like, she would feed the pigs and the goats, and with leftover food, a lot of bread and everything that we eat, the vegetables. Like, you would give them lots of good sustenance food, corn, things like that. But they in prison only got cabbage, boiled cabbage. That's what Dad said.
Yeah.
So as I grow up,
And that's what we're seeing here now.
we see it here. So the moment this happened, the virus and everything, I was calm and relaxed, okay, it's happening everywhere, fair enough. The day they said, you're going to lose your job for that double vax, that stupid, whatever it's in it, we don't even want to go there, I realized this is not about health. This is about me on top of you. Me going to tell you what you have to do from now on. Now, I moved to Australia for the freedom of speech. So I could do something with my life after being 21 years under the regime. And then I have 2 kids, and I'm thinking, I can show them how to survive. I can tell my friends, which I already have done it. This is how you can survive this stuff, but this is how you want to live from now on. Because you will survive, we will survive, but I don't want that anymore. I don't want just to survive. I want my kids to be born in Australia, in a democratic country, free, to can say to me, this is what I want to do, Mom, without being stressed. Do not go outside and say that because you're not coming back home. The school, I am afraid to let my kids to go to school now because I cannot be there when the bus will come to say to them, well, guys, you don't need your mom and dad's approval. We can do that to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't spend 15 years looking after my kids for just throw it in the rubbish bin, like worse than I was in the communist regime, because in a communist regime, when I said to them, I'm leaving this communist utopic country for a Western democratic country, that was the biggest slap you could give it on the face of the communist regime. Yeah. You know what they said? Well, okay, we will make it hard for you to go. But they couldn't stop us. They made it hard. 7 years of waiting, 7 years of the security at your door saying, hey guys, you know what? What do you want to go in the country called Australia where there are only kangaroos and everybody's looking after the sheep? Do you want to be a shepherd? And I said, did you think I could say anything? Because whatever I said was going the other way around anyway. So I just stood there and shut up. You learn to shut up, because you want to survive. Okay. So then I say, well, I have to go because I have this opportunity. So I came here. And the government at that time in 1993 supported me. I could go to school, I could go to university. pay for it, but I still could go. And then I managed to move from one interesting area. I end up kindergarten teacher, and then I move into disability field. I mean, so much opportunities comparing where I was coming from, And I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world because I came here and I could do also good things for the community. I'm a very community-oriented person. Moved to Midtown 4 years ago, everybody in Midtown will tell you who I am, because I've been helping with a lot of fundraising, okay? Now, the same people I work with, now they don't want to look at us, okay? Because they're afraid of us because we think differently. And you know what I did? I get fine. I'm doing my resistance stuff. I'm working underground. They say, we don't see you anymore. You don't see me anymore because you don't want to see me. I'm still here. I help so many people to get jobs. That's what I do, okay? But you don't see that because you don't want to it. But I don't care because I have to help these people because I know. But I don't want just to survive. I want to have freedom again. That's what I'm fighting for.
You want to
for
live.
the freedom. Yeah, the freedom of doing what I want when I want within the legal, I'm not going to kill somebody because I'm free.
Yeah, do no harm.
Don't harm.
And don't damage anyone's
Do not
property.
come and tell me
Yeah.
to put something in my body if I don't want.
They didn't care.
Say that again so people can hear.
Give me freedom or give me death. Because life was not worth living under the communist regime. It wasn't.
So how, from when it started to when Ceaușescu fell, how much of a time was that?
So it was, I think it was kind of like a month. But this is how it started. When it came to our town as well, the revolution, and people were like, we're gonna go out in the streets. It wasn't like today, like we say, we're going out in the streets and, the police are just kindly escorting you. Then, if you say, I'm going to go out in the streets to protest, you knew that you might not come back alive. And my brother, at the time, because I was the youngest, right? And then I had my two older sisters, but it was mainly the young males who were like brave enough to say no more of this, no more of communism. And my brother said he was 7 years older than me, so he would have been about 17, 18 at the time. And he said, I'm going out to join my friends. I'm going out to protest. And my mom started crying. And she said, please don't go. I might never see you again. And he said, no. He said, I will go. I don't care if I die. I will go because I can never live with myself if my friends go out there and die for this country and I'm sitting at home doing nothing. So he went, we all hugged him and said goodbye to him, and he went out on the street. Now, praise God that the story actually has a good ending for my brother only. He didn't die, he wasn't killed, but so many others were killed. So many young people were killed, were shot by the communists. They were just shooting into the crowd. There was like hundreds of thousands of them, millions. And they were just shooting.
What did you think when you saw what was happening in Melbourne when they were shooting people, even though it was with rubber bullets at the shrine?
We are one step away from the real thing. We are one step away from what the communists do. I said this country is on the brink of becoming a communist country. That's when I decided I'm gonna stand up and fight for this country. And that's when I went online, not rehearsed, not practiced or anything. And it was maybe a couple of weeks after the pandemic was declared when I realized this is about control. Because I'm a nurse as well, and I realized this has nothing to do with medicine and science. This virus, you don't need a curfew if there is a virus. The virus doesn't know the time of the day. And lockdowns just for no reason at all, when the survival rate is 99.9%. So I realized this is all about control, and control is basically another word for communism, in my mind anyway, because that's what I've been through. So then I've put out a video, and I said straight away, I called out for Daniel Andrews' resignation, and that at the time went viral. And I believe, there's many people who have done amazing work in this country, but I believe I was one of the first ones to stand up and say more. Yeah, that was early. It was February or March 2020. So,
how did that affect your life?
Since then,
That video going viral, what effect did it have on your life?
well, I was surprised. When I put out the video, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Because it was...
You were like your brother, you didn't get.
Yeah, I didn't, we were in complete lockdown in Melbourne. People weren't allowed to go out and protest or anything. And here I am putting out this video. I didn't know if I was going to be taken to prison. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, because it wasn't like now when so many of us are speaking out. It's hundreds and thousands of us now who are so vocal and speaking out. Then there wasn't hardly any. And I didn't know what the outcome of that would be. But I thought, I have to save this country. I don't want my kids to go through the same thing that I've been through. And that was my motivation. My kids are my motivation to keep fighting. So, yeah.
But did you lose your job, anything because of the video, or?
Not immediately, but subsequent to that, people... because I was getting popular on Facebook, and then I kept posting stuff about vaccinations, about everything, and someone took a screenshot of one of my posts, and they sent it to APRA, and then they sent me a letter warning that they would take my registration away as a nurse, because I'm not allowed to speak. There is no freedom of speech in this country, for nurses anyway. So I said to them, I wrote them a reply, and I said, look, I have been a registered nurse for 22 years. And I said, I have always been an advocate for my patients, and I am not about to start and now be an advocate for Pfizer and AstraZeneca. I said, I am an advocate for my patients and for my community, not for Pfizer and AstraZeneca.
So Granddad made Dad shoes, proper shoes, because they're working in the snow as well. And I had relatives in America who, like I told you before, they used to send, they knew that what happened, so they would send coffee and Marlboro cigarettes, the ones with the camel, and chocolates. And they would give, the mom would go to the prison and would give this to the police. So she would make a package, she put the shoes and some clothes and some food, like Granddad and Grandma made, every year they cut their own pig, and they used to make all the salamis, like the Italians, like all the salamis and the bacon, the prosciutto and all that, which she would cut and put in there as well. And she would make sure, she would go and she would give it to the police, and the police would have to give to the other guard and say, look, I have to give this to so-and-so, this is for you, like a bribe, yes. So they will let them do it. But if Mom would have done herself, they would still not give it to Dad. But because of the policeman, he was the only one that could do it. So he'll give it to Dad, and then of course Dad will probably hide it because of the other prisoners who, yeah. So one time Dad disobeyed something. I think that they were outside. They used to make. He told me they made them to make wooden boxes for when you go to La Piazza, when you go to the fruit or veggie market. You put the veggies in these wooden boxes. So the prisoners would be making them, and with the nails in. So they would have to make them quickly, and every person had to make an amount. And one of the prisoners was made in charge, one of the more brutal one, and he didn't like my dad, or Dad made more, and he would take from Dad and give to the other, and then put Dad in trouble and say that he's not working enough. And for that reason, they put him in isolation. They put him in isolation room, I think, for 2 days. And the isolation room is a small room where you can't stand up. There's no light. You can't stand up. You can't sit down.
So what do you do?
I don't know how he was. Maybe on squat. I don't know, squatting or on the knees. I'm not 100% sure, but he said he can't stand up or sit down. And they would just give him the soup once in a while. Maybe I think once he didn't even get the food at all. Anyway, so things like that. That's what I know as much as he's told us. Lots of things he can't tell us.
You said that you saw him in chains.
Yeah. So he got TB because of the freezing cold, and before the end they put him in prison hospital, and so before that I wanted to see him. So this is 8 months, and I must have been around 6 or 7 years old. And children are not allowed to see the parents in prison, because once they told us once a child saw the parent was disfigured because of beating and cruel. They were cruel, and because of shock, the child died apparently. So they wouldn't allow any children. But of course, Mom intervened, and I remember they took us because of the other police, secret police. They took us. I remember going through this corridor, very long corridor. It was all metal. I remember metal. I didn't even know, but I was scared. All I remember is metal doors and big side walls. And then we came to a stairwell, and the stairwell was literally so steep, like in the movies, very steep, and we went down halfway, like a long time, and they brought Dad up, another guard, and that's when we saw Dad, and he was very skinny, and he had the chains on his arms and legs, and he couldn't even look at us, and couldn't even speak. And I wanted to hug him and things like that, but I didn't get response from him. I think he just stood very, very still and couldn't look at us. He couldn't look at us, and my mom was asking if he's okay and things like that, and he just said yes, but he couldn't talk. I think if he was to look at us, or if I wanted to hug him, but they wouldn't let me. But I think if he was to talk, he would cry, and I think that's why he didn't want to. Yeah, even he couldn't even make contact.
What was it like for you to walk away and leave him then?
It was devastating for me, because my dad was everything to me. I have a very beautiful childhood, and he loved me very much, and I only have good memories with him, and I always missed him and always wanted to see him, and it was very heartbreaking to see him like that.
Are you surprised that people can be that cruel to other people?
Yes, it's shocking that someone can do that to their fellow man. You can't understand why. You can't, there's no words for what they did. But I believe in God a lot. I think that's what kept us, because my mom's side, my granddad, a shoemaker, he grew up also very sad life. His dad died in the World War I, and there was 12 kids, and they're very poor, and because they lived in the mountains, they didn't have food. So I loved growing up with my grandparents, and I loved listening to his stories. He always told me his stories from the war and how he survived, and he amazed me. And to be honest, like,
Yeah.
And that's when you realize this is something wrong here, because they take your jobs away.
Yeah.
Ceaușescu didn't let that happen. He said, okay, you, bad person, but he didn't took the job away from me. And that was in the communist regime. This is how bad we are at the moment. We are bad, worse than it was in the communist regime. We go above that. Because these people say, oh, well, we have the power, now we can do whatever we want. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
And people are still going, and I'm saying I'm going for the third one, and I'm like, hallelujah. But I let them, because it's their choice, you know, that's your choice, but don't make mine. Let me alone.
You rock. You simply rock. How amazing is this woman?
Yeah, well, look, I really wanted to come here, have a lovely life, and let other people to do their thinking, but it's not happening anymore.
Thank you.
Now we have to start thinking, you know? Yeah.
I hope you're listening. I hope you're listening. That was amazing.
Dad, hi. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Honest to God, that was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Whoa, we're kissing.
Oh, that was just amazing.
You see, we change all those what are the microbes or
I actually lived
bags
with
or
5 Romanians in a share house in Perth.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 5 Romanian men who'd escaped communism.
They were men. Okay.
They'd swum the Danube to escape.
Because I was just saying, if it was a woman, you probably got married with her by now.
yeah. But and that was amazing. They were really tough.
When was that?
This is before it fell,
Okay.
and they said it will never fall. And they used to tell me horror stories, you know. And they used to say this word to Suj Pula. That's the only word they used to say to each other all the time. And it was, I loved them. It was really great.
I had the security in Romania coming one night at 9 o'clock to check on us. I mean, how scary is that for a girl and the mother and the grandma, and we were all like,
Well, they're coming here now to check on us. We had
Of course they do it.
my
Yeah.
son was at
Yeah.
home, and they come and they check on us.
There you go.
You know.
And the problem is they're not going to stop here.
No.
The more the power they have, the more they want something.
Yeah. The more
So
they push
tomorrow they come for the cars and the petrol and the food. It's already starting with the food, let's face it.
Yeah.
Like
the shelves are empty.
we're all growing in meat and things, so we can do exchange. Like I said, we can survive, but that's not what I want for my kids. I want that freedom again. I can go back to Romania. It's actually better now in Romania than it's here. My family say, come back. I can do that. We can go in other countries, but why are we destroying this one for?
Yeah.
Because it's been such a good country until now, isn't it? I mean, everybody would keep coming,
Yeah.
And now we have to go like, stop talking because I can talk for hours.
She's great. She's great.
Somebody else might want to talk, and my daughter's
Thank
like,
you so
Mom,
much.
what you doing there? No, Michael, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I just hope that people understand this is not how we want to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you
That's
can
why people are here.
go to those demonstrations in Melbourne, because I know you stay home and say, what can I do as one person? But we are one, and we are many.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the ants. It's
Yeah.
not just one. There are millions of
Yeah.
us, and we have to do something unless we want to,
Be slaves.
accept whatever they're going to tell us each
Yeah.
day, which is not going to be fun. And I don't want my kids, to live like that. That's what I moved here for. I know I can survive, but that's not the way I want it. I want better. Better. Yes. Fight for the freedom of choice. That's
How
what
long
we
you
fight.
been here?
28 years, and I still have a very strong accent. I know, because people told me I'm sexy with my accent. So I keep
I
it.
wasn't going to say it because your husband's over there. but
Oh,
yeah.
my husband is a very open-minded person to get married with me. You can imagine that.
Okay, you're very sexy with that voice.
My kid's going up.
Okay, that's great.
I'm going.
great.
I'm going now. See you
great.
guys.
No,
Thank
thank-
you. Bye.
And that was my response to them. Following this,
I just want to take a moment so we can applaud that. I can't applaud because I've got a microphone, but I applaud your courage. Thank you.
yes, I felt that was the right thing to do at the time, because this is an experimental vaccine, and an experimental vaccine should never be mandated on everyone. It should never be mandated. It's totally wrong and it's criminal. And then a month after that, I've lost my job as a nurse because of the mandates. My husband was working in aged care. He lost his job as well. My kids are teenage. I have teenage twins and one that's a year younger. They had like a little part-time job, both of them, their first job, right? Remember what it's like to get your first job? They were so excited. They worked for a month or two at McDonald's, and after a couple of months, they lost their jobs because of the mandates. I feel so sorry for them that they feel like they have no future in this country anymore. They are just starting out in society, their first job, and all of a sudden everything is taken away from them. They can't go to university, everything. One wanted to be a teacher. That was his dream. Since he was like 3 years old, he always used to tell me, "Mom, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a teacher." Teachers have vaccine mandates in this country, so.
What do you think we have to do to move forward?
Well, number one thing is you can't comply your way out of tyranny. Like, if
You've learned that.
I have learned this. My parents have been through communism for 45 years. They've endured communism for 45 years. They tried to comply with it, and it only got worse and worse and worse. It never got better. You can't comply your way out of tyranny. And this is what the message that I would like to send out there. If people don't remember anything from this interview, it's just this. You simply cannot comply your way out of tyranny. You are either brave, you stand up now while we still have some freedoms left, while we can go out on the street and not get shot and killed. You either stand up now or you're gonna be a slave for the rest of your life. Or until when people pick up their courage and fight back like we did during the revolution. But then if they don't stand up now, if they decide to stand up later, it's gonna come at the cost of their lives. Mark my words. Mark my words, if we don't do it now, it will cost the lives of many people.
In part two, this is just a little addition to it, to how they finally won. So they were getting shot in the streets. Mm-hmm. How did getting shot in the streets turn to victory?
Well, you won't believe this, but it wasn't. So I want to explain the difference between a protest and a revolution, because we often call our protests revolution. They are not a revolution, they are protests. Not that I have anything against calling them a revolution, but I just want to make that distinction, because in a revolution, they were there to win, and they said, we are not going home until this government comes down. Kill us, do whatever you want with us, we are not going home. In a protest, you go there march around nicely and come home to your house. So there's a big difference between a protest and a revolution. So I just want to explain that. So people kept turning up. They went into the media stations and they chased the people out. And we were watching TV, and all of a sudden it's this line, zzz, like there's nothing happening. And we were like, wow, this has never happened on TV. And then a few seconds later, it was the people from the People's Revolution. And they were like, we've taken over the media. It's ours now. From now on, you're going to hear the truth. No more indoctrination. They would go into the police stations and or schools, all the government offices, and bring out all their crap and all their communist indoctrination books and whatever they had, and they would they made a big bonfire in the middle of the town and just burnt everything to the ground and chased them all out. And basically, but really, the way we won in the end is this: because the police and the army were ordered to shoot into the people. And they did it for a while, for a few days. But at some point, their humanity kicked in. At some point, they realized that they are human beings and they cannot do this to their fellow person. They cannot do this to their... In the streets, they said, it could be my mom, it could be my dad, it could be my brother or my friend, and I'm shooting into them because I'm ordered to do this by the corrupt dictatorship and the corrupt government. This is when people tell me governments are good. I'm like, you don't understand what governments have the capacity to do to people. You don't understand. The communists have killed 100 million people worldwide. In 100 years of communism, they have killed 100 million people. Do you know that more people were killed by governments worldwide than by anything else? Look at all the people the Nazis killed. 20 million. The communists, 100 million. It's the government that's the real threat. I'm not saying there isn't good governments. I'm not saying there aren't good politicians and good people. But when the government goes rogue, when the government turns into a dictatorship, then we have the duty to stand up and defend ourselves and defend our freedoms and defend our families and defend our future and the future of our nation and the future of our kids.
Sorry, start again.
Well, I just want to say that communism doesn't happen overnight. This is all planned, carefully planned, and it takes years and years of indoctrination to get to even where we are today. And communism, it's not going to happen. Freedom is not going to happen overnight. So it will take time, and people need to realize this. And the picture that comes to mind for me is, maybe if you've ever been to Sunday school, is of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho. They had to go round and round the walls a few times before the walls came tumbling down. Because, and this is what's going to happen, the wall of injustice, it doesn't come down overnight. It took them years and years to build and fortify their walls and their system. And it's slowly crumbling, and we can already see gaps into those walls, where the freedom warriors have, punched through those big, strong walls. And we've already made some cracks and some gaps. But it will take time, but we're going to keep circling this wall of injustice until it comes down. And it's going to come down, because I'm not letting it happen. Not here, not now, not on my watch.
Like what you're doing right now, I think it's incredible, because these stories, they help you survive.
And the world was a child's painting, full of trees days were like today, except the days were louder and the laughter longer. And I just wanna go there. I just wanna go there. How did we reach here, where the view looks like the view I used to see? But somehow everything has changed. Everything is gone, and yet remains.